Good morning, gentlemen. Welcome to another live. I know I haven't done them in a minute. We've been a little bit busy. One of the things we've been busy with is introducing one of our new coaches to the Porn Reboot system, Milan. Milan is Porn Reboot's official neural reprogramming coach. I'll let him introduce himself and tell him and tell you guys a little bit about what he does. So, welcome, Milan.
Thank you,
What does a
JK. Thank
neural
you.
reprogramming coach do, man? Who are you?
Yeah, I do all kinds of stuff. Basically, it comes down to your mindset, the way you are thinking, what is happening in the back of your mind when it comes to your whole behavior. So I'm helping brothers to discover what their true values are and what their triggers are, so they can start applying some of the thinking in the way that changes their behavior. So the more understanding they have, the more they learn about themselves, it becomes easier for them to apply certain techniques, rules, get rid of any kind of resistance that might be there on a level of emotions and thoughts. And when I say thoughts, usually a form of limiting belief that prevents them to create a solution for their problem situation or undesired behavior. So something like that.
Okay. No, excellent, excellent. That was a long explanation. The
Mhm.
way I see it, and I'll translate it for some of you guys, is that if a lot of brothers who reach out, it's not just about ending your out of control behavior. It's easier said than done. A lot of men were coming to porn reboots with severe limiting beliefs. A lot of these limiting beliefs could have began, when you were growing up, through past relationship, traumatic incidents which occurred in your life, and sometimes just from repeated failure or what you perceive to be failure in your life. And so, one of the things I really wanted to bring to Porn Reboot over the years was a professional who could help men with those beliefs that were holding them back. And that's how Milan came to join us. One of the things we actually wanted to discuss today, and when I asked Milan about it earlier, he was doing such a great job. I was like, you know what, let's just make this a live video and put this out there, was hopelessness, right? And you should probably see it somewhere down here. Well, why you feel so hopeless in your reboot. So if you're one of those brothers who, in general, you're trying to change aspects of your life, out of control sexual behavior included, but you feel that there's no point, right? Like no matter what you do, you're going to fail. What I want to do today is have Milan, our coach, kind of break down the concept of hopelessness. And he can do it way better than I can. So let's get started. Milan, I'll keep it simple. Like what is hopelessness?
Mhm. Hopelessness is a feeling that we have when we feel stuck, when there is no ability, no reason, or any kind of positive expectations to move toward future, to move forward in life. So we stay in the same place because we feel hopeless. Yeah, and there are many different elements that create hopelessness. Four most important ones are victim mindset, then we have
Hmm.
irresponsibility, we have blaming, and at the end, powerlessness. So each of these elements, they seem like a separate thing, but actually they are quite connected. They are all linked together. They can happen on their own, but they can also happen simultaneously at the same time. So, starting from the top, victim mindset. This is a specific perspective of the world, how we see things. We observe life in a way that is happening to us. The life is happening to us. We are just passively standing there on the side of the road
Hmm.
and watching things happening to us, not having a clue what is going on. And of course, when
So
we
just to interrupt you there, you're saying so like if somebody's dealing with an out of control sexual behavior, you're saying that their victim mindset in this case is that they see their out of control sexual behavior as just another thing that happens to them. And
yes.
would this mean that they see, is it just this part of their life that they see it as happening to them, or does every other
Most
unfortunate thing in their life happen? happening
In
to
more
them.
cases, they're experiencing that this is something outside of themselves, happening to them, like some external force making them make the wrong choice and act out in a negative way.
Mhm.
So it's almost like it's not part of them. So they don't like all victims. Yeah, they don't want to do anything with it. They are not affecting it, which comes to that irresponsibility part. They don't claim any kind of responsibility for what is happening and what they are doing. They don't want to do anything with it, and they are not part of it. And of course, when you don't have responsibility for something that is happening to you, and you're just passively observing, when you're just a witness,
Mhm.
even though it sounds like a meditation practice, it's not. It's kind of a negative thing.
Uh,
Well, we have to come to conclusion that someone or something is responsible, and this is the part that brings us to blaming. We start pointing fingers, excuse me, in all directions. So we can say it's because of my parents, it's because of my partner, because of the politics, because of the weather. We have all these fine examples to point fingers in all directions, but we never point the finger towards ourselves. And the more we blame, even though it feels kind of good in a way, gives us a little bit of false energy or something like that, we take the load off. We don't feel the responsibility. We are letting go of any kind of negative feelings. What we are doing at the same time, we are letting go of all the control. And the more we are losing control, the less power we will have to change that. So once we finally use everything, let go completely of control, and we say, okay, wait a minute, I am blaming them, but this is not changing anything on the outside. I can't change my parents, my partner, the weather.
mhm.
So I start blaming myself. And once that is happening, we really hit the bottom by feeling powerless. We beat ourselves, we are hard on ourselves. And once that happens, well, this is what creates that feeling of hopeless, that we are not uh, able to do anything about it. And when I say power, we lose actually energy, we lose drive, and we lose motivation. When we don't have that, we don't have any kind of hope for the future.
Milan, thank you for explaining that. That actually makes a lot of sense. As you were talking about that, I was thinking of my clients and myself when I struggled with my out of control behavior. And you know, one of the things, and I'm going to lead into this, is one of the things I've suspected. Well, it's not I've suspected. Let's just say I know this, is
Mhm.
that when you experience a relapse, and you're in a relapse, you're slipping multiple times. Um, you get this feeling of being out of control. You're like, I can't control my behavior. However, how would I put it? The lack of control that you actually experience when it comes to a relapse, I guess my question would be, does this is this inherent in the person? Has this person built up a habit of feeling hopeless? Or
Over time, yes. At a certain point in time, something happened that made us make a decision, make a choice that is eventually going to turn into a habit that is not useful for us, which is, letting go of control, becoming a victim in the whole situation when it comes to our behavior, letting go of responsibility, losing our power, and so on. So we have to backtrack all the way to that moment, to the root cause, in order to uncover what really happened. What was that seed planted in our
mm,
mind that lead to all of these things that we are experiencing later on in life as not being able to control whatever is happening with us, because it comes down to our
mm,
choices, because it's our behavior. Nobody is making us, even though it feels like something or someone is making us act out in a negative way.
that's really good. No, that's good to hear. I think a lot of us who struggle with an out of control behavior feel that oh, our relapse is the thing that's causing us to feel hopeless. But the truth, as you're saying, is that sometimes there's something else that caused it.
Mm.
So, with that being said, like, what would be some of these things? Like, why does hopelessness occur?
Mhm.
Why does
Okay, so in order to have victim mindset, in order to have irresponsibility, to blame and lose power, we have to have certain way of thinking. And there are usually two types of thinking that happens in most of us. So the first example is we all have that internal dialogue, which we call self-talk. We
Mhm.
talk to ourselves. And when we feel powerless, when we feel anger, resentment, hopeless, yes, we we tend to have negative self-dialogue, doubtful thoughts,
Mhm.
self-defeating thoughts, angry thoughts. They are pointed towards ourselves, which doesn't feel good. We continue that beating down. So this is one source that is feeding feeling of hopelessness. And another type of thinking is analyzing, which is similar to problem solving, but in a negative way, which
Mhm.
is also can be recognized as overthinking. So we start thinking and thinking and looking all these examples from our past, from past experiences, how we behave. And the more we are thinking about this, what we are doing actually, we are creating a story that will define us who we are now and who we are going to be in the future, which is not supposed to be like that. We can create a different kind of story that creates a different kind of personality for ourselves and what we are going to be in the future. But we do it in the negative way because we started from a negative place of thinking. And the more we are repeating this story, which can be quite long in the beginning, once we realize it's because of all of these reasons, all of these
Mhm.
evidences I have, it can be, like I said, really long. But in time, the more we repeat it, it becomes shorter and shorter and shorter. And all these facts and elements of the story, they come down to one fact, which we call a limiting belief. So we create from that story a limiting belief that combines all of our experiences that allows us to put a negative label on ourselves. And in most cases is like, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not capable, I don't have control over this, and so on. And once that happens, well, that limiting belief, that label makes us incapable. And once we are incapable, that we create actually another source for feeling of hopelessness,
Mm.
because
That's
we don't
crazy.
have
So
skills.
we're basically having these experiencing these emotions first of all, right? When things happen to us, but instead of processing them the right way, we use them as evidence of something. And the more we use, oh, this emotion I'm experiencing, it's evidence that I'm this, I'm this. What we don't know we're doing is we are creating a story about these things happen to me. But this is just random evidence that we are translating. And this becomes our self talk, which ends
Mhm.
up crippling us because it's
Exactly.
like evidence that we can't move forward, right?
Mhm.
That's
And it
crazy.
is because
Yeah.
of the way of thinking, we are asking as a victim, we have to ask wrong questions. So we're going to ask ourselves, why is this happening to me? Why always me? And the more we are focusing on these kind of questions, well, our mind is going to give us what we ask for. Yeah, it's going to say, it's because of this, it's because of your parents, maybe. It's going to try to feed us with all these solutions, which are negative solutions. And we're going to, of course, support our story with this kind of thinking because we are asking for solutions from the wrong source. We are actually making this problem bigger than it is.
Interesting. When you say we're asking for solutions from the wrong source, what does that mean?
We are asking questions that they are steering our mind in the direction of negativity. So, for example, if you ask yourself, why am I not good enough? Your mind has to offer answer for that. If you ask yourself, why
Gotcha.
am I good enough? You will have all the reasons
Amazing.
why you are good enough. So it's really important what kind of questions we are asking. And when we are in a bad um, state of mind, we are going to ask questions that will, dig the hole a little bit deeper.
Prompt the wrong answers. So interesting. At the end of some of our coaching sessions,
Mhm.
we'll set some goals for the next time that I speak with a client. And I'll often tell a client, well, what are your goals? And they'll say, I need to do this, and I really need to do this, and I need to do this. And I always tell them, why don't you frame it as a question? Why don't you say, ask yourself, what do I need to do to accomplish this? And you'll start to realize that your mind actually creates the answers for you if you ask it the right way. So it's so great to hear, Milan, that if it sounds like if one of the things we can do to become more hopeful is to first of all probably learn how to ask ourselves the right questions. Outside of that, what are some other things that we can do? Like, how do we become more hopeful people, especially for the brothers who are watching this and they're like, I would love to be more hopeful, not just about my reboot, but my life in general. How do we do this?
Yes. So every coin has two sides. On one side, we have these elements that are creating hopelessness. We said irresponsibility, being passive, blaming, and feeling powerless.
Mhm.
On the other side of the coin, there are all the elements that are creating hopefulness, right? So you can feel more hopeful. So
Okay.
the it seems obvious, and it is. All we have to do is first claim that responsibility, that we are responsible for the things that are happening in our life, especially when it comes to our behavior. Once we do that, we are able to turn our focus and search for that root cause, to find what happened, to understand how we got to this point.
Mm.
And once we do that, we can start claiming and have that ownership of the problem. And once we own something, well, it means it's ours and we can do with it whatever we want. So we can start applying changes. And changes actually are the questions that we can start asking ourselves. How am I causing this? What am I doing to make this my reality? What am I pretending not to know in order for things to be this way? It is like I said, a huge difference between asking yourself, why is this happening to me? And when we ask ourselves, what can I learn from this experience that will allow me to do something different that will get me better results? So there is a huge difference when we ask these kind of questions. And of course, it will lead us to different answers. We are tapping into a source that is making us think of all the positive solutions, all the positive energy that we have, all the skills that we have that we can use right now to do something about our life situation. And once we have that ownership, once we start applying those solutions, we start to reclaim that control that we were letting go. And the
Mm.
more control we have, the more we are repeating, we're going to have certain achievements, we're going to have results, we're going to have like, okay, we are doing something positive. Well, that in return will start generating more power. When I say
Mm.
power, I said it's more energy, more drive, motivation, because now we have a solution that we are applying to our situation. And of course, the more we do it, the more we apply the opposite side of the coin, we are creating more hopefulness for ourselves.
Okay. So I was taking, this is really good. There's some gold in there. I was taking some notes on my phone and I have like one or two questions. So you said that one of the best things that we can do is we can take responsibility and we can take ownership. But I also heard you say that when we take responsibility and we take ownership, you said that this allows us to tap into, let's say, the positive energy and skills that we have. What if you were coaching a client and you told them this, right? I'm sure there are ways you coach them into taking responsibility. You have lots of great exercises. But what if somebody says, well, Milan, I don't believe that I have, let's say I was a client and I was like, Milan, I don't think I have any skills to tap into. Like, I feel like I took responsibility by joining this program and being coached by you, but I don't believe I have those things you're talking about within me.
Mhm.
There's a lot of guys
Well,
who struggle with porn. If they feel like, well, if they had that, they would be able to help themselves.
mhm. The first thing I will remind them immediately is about the limiting belief they are just mentioning in the moment. They believe they don't have any skills. So this is the starting point, because
Mm,
this way of thinking is quite sneaky. You know, you think you're asking a really good question, but actually you're revealing a limiting belief. This is what happens with most of clients, and
mm,
I help them realize and become aware of the language they use. And once
mhm.
they realize, wait a minute, so I just said this. So this is my self-talk. This is my self-dialogue, and I teach them how to change that. Okay, what if I do have some skills? Because I tried many different things in my life. I have quite a number of years behind myself. What did I do? And they start searching. They're gonna find maybe it's sports, maybe it's art, maybe it's pretty much anything. They will find a skill they have, because we all have some sort of skills that we are using on daily basis.
Do you
And
do you work with the clients to help them find these skills and like hidden talents they may have?
yeah, they always find something they are good at. Everybody has that. They
Okay.
just need to remind themselves they do. And once you have one example, well, by association, usually they find other examples as well. It's just a way of thinking. They are trapped in this kind of bubble,
Hmm.
and that reflects that belief that I don't have. Once that belief is gone, once we challenge that belief, and when they are out of the bubble, say, well, actually, I do this quite well, and I know how to do this, and I know how to do that. And they start thinking, they start asking questions. Okay, so I might need, for example, a little bit of more discipline to do
Mm.
these kind of things. Then they will find a resource or someone to help them to develop more discipline, or somebody who has a strategy of ending a behavior
Mm.
that will help them follow these steps. A
Hmm.
mentor, somebody like that.
This is really exciting. It's really exciting because it shows that there's so much, and I think you're explaining it in a more eloquent way than I ever could, because that's what you do professionally.
Thank you.
But it's so exciting that you can come out of, you called it a bubble. I just call it just being stuck in a vicious cycle. But it's so exciting to know that there's a way to actually step out of that and
Mhm.
start seeing so much possibility that you were not capable of. And I don't want to take up too much time with this. We both have clients. We have to go coach now.
Yeah.
So I want to end this by on a more hopeful note, since we're talking about hopelessness. What are some of the things, if you can answer this, what are some of the things that will happen to a man who begins to learn how to move from hopelessness to hopefulness? What happens?
Mhm. First, when we break that cycle that you are talking about, the bubble,
Mm,
we can
mm,
call it many different names. We break the pattern of thinking. Yeah, so it doesn't go from our thoughts to our feelings that are generating more scary thoughts, and the scary thoughts are
mhm,
generating more scary feelings, and so on. We break that cycle, and what happens is two things we're going to have. We're going to have risks, and we're going to have rewards. So the first risk of being more hopeful about the future when we
mhm,
start moving forward is going to be meeting our, our shadow, confronting negative emotions,
mm,
confronting pain, and also dealing with, for example, having those hard conversations that we are avoiding, and
mhm,
also unknown. We're gonna stand in front of unknown territory because we can have hope, definitely, but we don't know what's gonna happen in the future. We can have all these expectations, but it's still going to be unknown. And in that point, we are going to make a choice. With
mhm,
hope, without hope, we are going to say, "Oh, this looks very scary. I'm not gonna do this." But with hope, we're gonna say, "This is going to be the greatest adventure of my life. I can't wait to explore this new amazing world out there. And once that happens, we receive the reward. We move toward the positive outcomes. We start generating more positive expectations, and we start creating empowering beliefs that can move mountains, right? We have so many examples of people believing in themselves. We have pretty much in any area of life, people are talking about this all the time. They have a strong belief why they succeeded, why they were the best, and so on. And once that happens, when we have that strong, empowering belief, well, that increases our capability, our skills, something that we are using. So basically, being hopeful is
Mhm.
all we have to do. Yeah, to take all the necessary actions and have what we want to have in our life.
There is so much gold in there. I'm listening to it. I'm just like, yep, yep. I especially agree with the part where you talk about being hopeful gives you access to empowering beliefs. And I think a lot of guys show up, and guys will probably show up in the comment section of this, just going like, how do I become this sort of person? Like people aspire to be somebody else, um, and they keep wondering about the how they can actually get there. Like there's something that they need to learn to get there. The funny thing is, this is what they need to learn, because everything they need to become that thing that they aspire to be is actually within them. And
Exactly.
I think for those of you who are watching this, this is so relevant, and I hope this is making sense, and you can kind of put two and two together and see how this affects your reboots. We're actually running out of time, and I'm sure Milan could actually talk about this on and on and on.
I love
But
it.
I really wanted to just thank you so much for sharing this, Milan. I really wanted to just introduce him to the whole Porn Reboot family, and let you guys know that there's actually two ways that you can work with Milan right now if you want to. You can work with him within the Porn Reboot system in a group coaching situation, which we do every Thursday, once a week within our implementation program. And you can also work with him one on one privately over the long term if you are a member of our intensive program. And again, he's familiar with what we do here at Porn Reboots. As a reminder, what we do at Porn Reboots, just keep it simple, is that when you join the program and you're dealing with an out of control sexual behavior, I work with you to first of all change your habits. We are going to change your habits. After that, we're going to change your lifestyle. But one of the most important parts, if you want to stay off this behavior permanently, is after changing your habits and lifestyle, you must change your self image. And there's a lot of work that needs to be done there. And one of the reasons why we are getting better and better at changing men's lives is we have started to deal with the self image part now. And this is where Milan comes in. I'll work with you on the habits and the lifestyle because I've lived that as a mentor. But you need help in changing your self image and challenging all the beliefs that are standing in your way, right? And that's what Milan is here to do. Any last words from you, Milan?
Thank you for having me, and I'll give my best to support all the brothers. If you have any questions, they can always reach out, find me in the group coaching or one-on-one, and I will be there for them. And I'll make the process even fun.
Oh yeah, and it's fun.
Yeah,
We
it's
get
very fun. Yeah.
a bunch of guys just going like, "Oh my god, dude! I came out of Milan session, and dude, it was deep. We went like really, really, really deep, right? So it's a great thing to have somebody that can go this deep. He's a man as well. He's familiar with our sexual behavior, and so he can relate a lot to the things that you're dealing with. So all of that to say is that listen, you don't need to have necessarily if you have limiting beliefs, you don't need to have a therapist and a coach. You can get the whole thing here in the Porn Reboot
Yeah.
system. So for those of you who watch, thank you so much. Milan, I know you're a busy man. I'll see you in the group later on. Thank you so much for your time. Take care.
Thank you, JK. All the best.